So again, we're going through this phrase, halach ma'anya. This is the bread that our forefathers ate, ba'arad Mitzrayim, called dichvin yesev yecho. Let all are in need come and eat, or let all who are hungry come and eat. Called ditrich, let all who are in need yesev yifsach, come with us and join us for the Karban Pesach. So we've been discussing this now for already 3 or 4 days, and now the question is, why do we say this phrase on the table, and why don't we stand up and say it at the entrance to the house? So we have a lot of answers to this question. So hello there, hello Shep, hello Thera. So again, we're discussing this question. Why, when we say this phrase, halach ma'anya, let all who are hungry come and eat, why do we say it at the entrance? Why don't we say it at the entrance to the house? Why do we say it while we're sitting on the table? So that's, by the way, a very good question. All these questions you could just throw out at your Seder table. So the answer that's given in the Shibbolei Aleket, the Shibbolei Aleket is Italian, medieval, and Rabbi Ephraim of Bonn, he was German, also medieval, 13th century. So he says, for sure, everybody's not going to open up their house and say that to people. Rather, this is something that person's saying inside their home, meaning to say we're reminding everybody to hold off on the food the whole day so that they can eat the Seder with a big appetite. With a big appetite. But the Abarba now, writing in 14th century Spain, says just the opposite. He says everybody should sit on their table and then in a really loud voice, should call out to the poor people who are right outside their door and say to them, come, participate in our table. That's what you should say. Wow. And the Mishnayim Miodea writes that it was the practice of the wealthy people in the ancient times that when they were sitting down to eat, especially on Shabbos and Yom Tov, they would call out in a loud voice, let all who are hungry come and eat, so that the poor people would know that they could come in without being embarrassed. So nowadays, the Abu Draham, he says nowadays, by the way, he's writing in the 15th century. Okay, so nowadays, Provençal says nowadays that most of the people are not, we don't live in a shtetl or a ghetto. So nowadays, if we're going to do this, who is going to come? Not necessarily the people who are wanting to partake of the Seder. So therefore, what we do is we're supposed to tell the poor people prior to Pesach that whoever is hungry should come and eat. And the only reason why we're doing it in our own homes these days is because we don't want to change the custom. We don't want to change from the original custom. So we're just continuing with the same phrase we've been discussing, Guy. Okay. So anyway, let's go on to the next question. What's the difference between this phrase, that all who are hungry come and eat, and that all who are needy come and partake of the Pesach? What's the difference between that phrase? Anybody want to take a shot at it? We say, Kol dichvin yesei v'yuchal, and all who are hungry come and eat, and all who are needy come and partake of the Paschal Lamb. What's the difference? So what's the difference between those phrases? So we're going to share now approximately 12 answers. This is all. You can put this out at the Seder. You can ask this question. Explain to me the difference between Kol Dichvin Yesev Yechol, because we start the Seder by saying, let all who are hungry come and eat, let all who are needy come and partake of the Pesach. Let me show you where we're up to.
Are we on the first?
We're still in the first phrase. We haven't got beyond the first phrase of the Seder. Here it is. So let's start with Rashi. Wow, they say Rashi had a Haggadah of Pesach. That's news to me. I never realized that Rashi had a Haggadah. Wow. We have to look into that and see if that's accurate.
Sorry, Haggadah. That's what, 1200s, 1300s?
There are very ancient.
So it's not surprising that Rashi would necessarily have them.
No. Of course, they had the Haggadah in the time of Rashi. That was not my point. My point was that Rashi wrote a commentary on the Haggadah. That was my question. Yeah. We're the Museum of the Bible is about to unveil a 7th century Haggadah. So that's that. Yeah, 7th century or maybe
Jewish book.
Yeah. So what does it mean? So Rashi in his Haggadah and Pirush Kadmon explains that when it says like all who are hungry come and eat, it means to say that everybody who was intentionally not eating that day to eat the Seder with a healthy appetite. When it says that all who are needy, this is a proclamation that the Jewish people should call to their brothers to partake of the Korban Pesach, meaning to say that you shouldn't say that since I'm a wealthy person, I'll purchase a Paschal lamb and I'll eat it by myself. But rather, on Pesach specifically, this is not a mitzvah that you could do by yourself. A Pesach is not a mitzvah that you could do as one person. You have to do the Korban Pesach with multiple people. That's the concept here. The Pesach has to be done with multiple people. So that's what it's saying. By the way, it's a very powerful idea. This is also the Korban Pesach is the only mitzvah that you have to do with your family. There's no other mitzvah that's a family mitzvah. But the Torah says that the Pesach you have to eat in your home with your family. It's the only mitzvah. The Rokeach writes. The Rokeach gives 2 explanations. Actually, at least 2. Maybe he gives more. No, he gives 2 explanations, and that he says the Kol Dichbin is for poor people. And Kol Ditzrich is for wealthy people, that they have what to eat, but they don't know how to organize a Seder. So let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are spiritually needy come and partake of the Paschal lamb with us. So that's the concept. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are spiritually needy come and partake of the Paschal lamb with us. Very powerful. What?
Assuming we know.
Well, we don't know. We obviously don't know. None of us can know, but we might know more than the other person. Yeah. So obviously, none of us. One time I went. I'm going to tell you a story. I'm not going to say where. I went to a far-flung place on one of my travels, and the Chabad rabbi who was helping us was just an incredible person. He was just so warm and kind and gave us so much. He was not the biggest scholar in the world, but he didn't need to be where he was. He was doing incredibly holy work. So somebody said to me, who was with us, he says, that was the greatness of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He took this man, who otherwise would have been, let's say, electrician, a businessman, and he told him, you're a rabbi. And then this guy went, and where we were, he was the rabbi. Meaning to say, you don't need to be Moshe, the Vilna Gaon, to be a rabbi, to be guiding people. You just need to know or have the leadership qualities to know more than the other people who are living near you, so you could help them. That's what this man did. And that's what's all are needy, come and partake of the Pesach. So everybody who opens up their home on Seder night, you're fulfilling this phrase. And therefore you say, Yesei v'yivtzach, come and partake of the Pesach, and then they'll know the way to fulfill the mitzvah. So, and continues the Rekeach, we don't want them to be embarrassed that they're depending upon the table of others. Therefore, we say, next year we'll be together in the land of Israel. We'll all be equal without any pain and jealousy. So that's what next year we'll all be together. This year, you don't know enough to do it on your own. Next year we'll be together in Jerusalem. Is there going to be a Seder in Rwanda this year? There is?
Yeah, Chabad.
Next year, you'll be leading everybody in the Seder. Okay. Then there are, by the way, okay, big thank you to Guy. He helped me out for, let's say, 3 or 4 hours today. I'm very appreciative of him. You have no idea. So now the Rokeach writes another answer that Kol Dichvin means that all are hungry and want to partake, and Yesi v'Yechol means to say that it's a mitzvah that let all who are hungry come and eat the matzah, because it's a mitzvah to eat the matzah, because of the love for the mitzvah of matzah. And then it says, Kol Ditzrich, that all are needy, mean to say, in addition to that, on Yontif, you should know that after the matzah, there's more food to eat. Don't think, say to your guests, don't worry. Matzah isn't the only thing we're going to eat tonight. We have a lot of food to eat, a lot of food. So that's what it's saying. Yeisev Yivsach, meaning to say you'll do the mitzvah of Pesach, to eat on a full appetite, to eat everything on a full appetite. That'll be the idea of the mitzvah of Pesach. Moshe and Ezra, there's right here. Here, Moshe, sit next to me. Ezra, come on, right here. Moshe, where are you sitting? So far away? Okay, Baruch Hashem.
She said Ezra wants to sit there.
Oh, Ezra wants to sit next to Gavriel Asher.
He does. He does.
Okay. All right. So now the Abu Jaham, the Orchos Chaim, both of these are Provençal works. He writes that Kol Dichvin is everybody who's hungry, has nothing to eat. Kol Ditrich is somebody who's not starving, but he doesn't have what you need to fulfill the mitzvah of Pesach. Meaning to say, he can eat, but he doesn't have matzah. He doesn't have the things, the physical things you need for to fulfill the mitzvah of the Seder. So let him take from here, Ezra, you're so far away. Let him take from us what we need for the needs of the Pesach, the karpas, the charoses, the maror, the wine, the 4 cups. Meaning to say, let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who need the things of the Pesach Goem, let them come to the things of the Seder, come and partake of the Seder.
Why is that to note spirituality? Why is the rich people in the previous explanation? Why does the Paschal lamb? What is that?
No, it's not. This one is not about the. Oh, you mean the previous explanation? Yeah. Going back to the Rokeach is saying, meaning to say, the previous explanation was saying that all who are hungry come and eat the matzah, that all who are needy come and do the Pesach, meaning to say you're going to eat the Pesach on a full stomach. Don't worry, you're going to eat the Pesach on a full stomach. And we're going to give you a full Pesach. That's what it's saying.
Oh, I thought you were saying that those could be rich people that are like spiritually needy. Or is that the previous one that you were talking about?
That was the previous one.
So why is their spiritual needs going to be met with the Korban Pesach?
Well, they're saying, Kol Ditrich, Yesiv Yisach, come and partake in the whole holiday of Pesach. The whole holiday of Pesach is what it's saying.
Okay.
No, that's what it's saying.
Okay.
So Pesach isn't just the Korban.
Right, that's what it's saying. Pesach is not just the current Pesach, it's the whole holiday of Pesach.
Thanks.
All right. Next one is Shnayim Miyodeh gives another answer. So Kol Dichvin is that whoever doesn't have matzah come and eat. Kol Ditrich is even if somebody has matzah, but he doesn't have the maror and the karpas and the afikomen, let him partake. Okay. Okay, fine. Another answer. This is Ravan. This is Rebbe Elazar Bar Nasan. He's the 11th century Germany. He was one of the earliest. Hello there. We're studying today in memory of Alan Goldstein, of Poppy and Mayor's Noah's grandfather, Esther's husband, Nicole's Abba, and we're studying in memory of him. So let us partake. The Ravan writes that when it says Kol Dichvin, means somebody who has not yet eaten the matzah, and Kol Ditrich means to eat the afikomen. And Yesiv Yivsach is, what's the matter?
What is the name of the dude that we're learning for?
This is Nicole's father, Alan Goldstein.
I can know.
Okay. Another answer from Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yakar. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yakar was the Rebbe of Rashi. He writes, when it says Kol Dichvin, it means somebody who has matzah, that he should come and eat it with a good appetite. But Kol Ditrich is somebody who's poor and he has no matzah, and he should take money from charity just to eat the matzah. But nevertheless, Yesi v'yivsach, he should come and partake of our food, so at the end, he should eat the matzah of the afikomen. It's a little bit complicated, but that's the basic idea. They're all trying to figure out, what's the reason why we kind of need this redundant, or this phrase that's said twice. Okay, now we are going in some of the commentaries. I don't know who this one is. The Chesed of Avram writes in the name of Rabbi Manish, says Kol Dichvin is anybody who's hungry and he's not able to eat the current Pesach, because the current Pesach needs to be in on a full appetite. So first let them come and eat the full meal, and then Kol Ditrich, somebody who's not hungry, but rather he just needs to eat a little bit, let him come and partake. He just needs to eat a little bit, let him come and partake. Okay. I'm not even sure this is the Rashab. I'm not sure that is. He writes, oh, this is one of my favorites.
Rashab was one of the Lubavitcher rabbis, no?
I know that Rashab was one of that I think it was the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, but I don't think that's who this is referring to. That's Rebbe Shalom Ber, the Oev, I think it's called the Oev Yisrael or the Oev Shalom. No, not the Oev Yisrael, the Oev Shalom. The Rebbe Shalom Ber, but I don't think that that's who this is referring to. But he writes that called Dichven, that all are hungry come and eat. This corresponds to all those people who are hungry, and what they do is they work hard to eat the matzah, even though it's very hard to digest. And we don't want the people, and since we don't want the people to think that this is the only food we have, therefore they call ditrich. That look, listen, if you can't eat the matzah because it's too hard for you, don't worry, we have other food for you. So you could say that to people. That might hit home. The Yavitz, you know the Yavitzes? That's Rabbi Yaakov Emden. He writes that kol dichvin corresponds to, see, Rabbi Yaakov Emden, he was a very controversial figure, very controversial. And he was also very creative, gave a lot of, he was the Gadol Ador, but he was in a major fight with Rabbi Yonas and Eibeshitz, who was also the Gadol Ador, and he accused him of being a follower of Shabtai Tzvi. But anyway, he was saying his own opinions, and he didn't care what other people thought. So the Yavitz writes that kol dichven means we're saying that to the poor Gentiles of the world, meaning to say that they are just hungry. Kol dichven yesev yechol. Now, nobody else says that. Well, the others are saying just the opposite. They're saying, no, we don't want to say it outside because we don't want the nations of the world to come and partake. And he's saying just the opposite, saying if there are poor people and they don't want to hear about the whole Seder, but they want to just partake of the food. That's what it means. And he quotes the what? Right, but so that's what he's saying. But most people don't say that we're saying this thing at the Seder. In fact, we've been studying this book for many days. We've never seen anybody else say that opinion. That you're supposed to, that the phrase called dichvin is for the non-Jews of the world. Let them come and partake of our feast. Well, you were saying something, Jeffrey? Did I cut you off?
Well, no, it's just that it seems to be an anti-Gentile affair generally. So.
Usually speaking, and here he is saying it, he says because he quotes the Gemara in Gittin that says you're supposed to support the poor nations of the world with the poor of the nations of the world with the poor Jews in order to bring peace to the world. So that, yes.
Is it not true that you're not supposed to have someone who's not Jewish at the Seder?
So the issue is, are you allowed to invite somebody who's not Jewish to the Seder? So it's like this. As a general rule, the Talmud says, on Shabbos, you're for sure allowed to invite anybody you want to your Seder. The issue on Yontif in general is that, the issue is that you're allowed to cook on Yontif. You're allowed to cook food. A Jew is allowed to cook food. You have to know you're not allowed to start the fire from scratch, but you're allowed to cook food on Yontif. So therefore, since you're allowed to cook food, the Talmud limits it. You're only allowed to cook food on Yontif for people who are commanded in the mitzvah of Yontif. That's why you have this special dispensation to cook on Yontif, because somebody is allowed to partake in the mitzvah of Yontif. So the Talmud says you're not supposed to invite somebody who's not Jewish because you might cook extra for that person. That's what's called, you might put in an extra piece of meat because you have a very distinguished guest. So there are a lot of people are obviously bothered by this. So there are several ways people can navigate it. First of all, if it's Shabbos, then it's not an issue. If Yontif coincides with Shabbos, it's not an issue at all. Well, let's say it's not Shabbos. So if it's not a distinguished guest, let's say you have people in your home. No, let's just say you have people living in your home. Let's say you have people living in your home who are, like providing help to your house. So you're clearly not going to cook extra for them. But then let's say you do have people you want to show them the Seder. Well, it's very commonly done that people, so people find ways to navigate this halacha, like you have to, maybe it's the first night, you did all the cooking in advance. You did, or maybe you're going to just say, okay, we're gonna have people, but we're gonna do all takeout food. So all I'm saying is, I understand why this is a law that's complicated, because a lot of people's dynamics in their family, people don't necessarily have a choice. Sometimes, it's in America, a lot of people live in interfaith families. So, and also there's an opportunity to share your traditions with your, let's say, your partner, your business partners, your close friends. So it's not the simplest halacha to navigate, but there are ways to navigate it.
But it all comes down to cooking, it's not,
That's the whole issue. The issue is cooking.
okay.
Okay, and so anyway, we have this Rabbi Yaakov Emden. We have this Rabbi Yaakov Emden who says this. Says straight out that you can do it. That the reason why we say called dichman, the very first words we say at our Seder is to invite people who are not Jewish to come and partake. That's Rabbi Yaakov Emden. But to be fair, he's definitely the lone opinion in this so far that we've seen. Yes, Jeff or Thea, I cut somebody off. Jeff, I cut you off.
Oh, I thought that there was something about the fact that you need to Pesach the Seder because the carbon Pesach could only be eaten by.
No, it's not. It's not
related to that.
not related to that.
All right.
And now, by the way, the footnote on this idea states, quoting from the here we go. So the footnote to this opinion of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, I'm looking at the footnote, says, and because of ways of peace, we actually are supposed to first help the poor of the nations of the world before the Jewish people. And then he says there is some of a difficulty with this approach of Rabbi Yaakov Emden from the fact that the Shulchan Aruch writes that on Yom Tov you're not allowed to invite the nations of the world to partake of your Seder. So therefore, they leave this in what's called Sarchi, and they leave it as an unresolved question.
It's really not to come, not just on Pesach.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you want to get everybody riled up at the beginning of your Seder, you can share this and the opinion against it, and then see how things develop. See how things develop. Okay, but then he says, Rav Yaakov Emden says, Kol Ditzrich is for the Jewish poor, meaning to say that the Jewish poor, they need to fulfill the mitzvah on this night of the Pesach, and we want to encourage them to come and partake of the mitzvah of all the mitzvahs of the Pesach. Now, there's what's called Pirush HaKodum, that he says, Kol Dichvin is, oh wow. So what does Kol Dichvin mean? This is another one. Kol Dichvin means that all who are hungry come and eat. This is saying if somebody's hungry and he wants to partake of the Korban Pesach and he's not Jewish, and in order to partake of the Korban Pesach, you need to be Jewish, let him come and convert. That's what he's saying. Come to convert. You can join us. You're allowed to come and join us. It's a call to conversion. But so meaning to say it's saying if you want, you could do this. Now clearly that doesn't refer to a Jew because the Jew doesn't have the option. The Jew has to do it. And called Ditzrich is everybody who needs to, those who are already Jewish. So they have to partake in it. Let them come and partake of it. So those are the two approaches that both say. So one is saying invite the. So we have two approaches: the Pirush HaKodum, and it's brought in the Haggadah de Pischa. Okay.
Can I share a thought?
Yeah, sure.
The way we always explained it, the hungry and the need seems duplicative. We always explained it as spiritual hunger and physical.
Right.
We got that one. That's a good one. We said that at the beginning. That's a good answer. Who did we say that? That was the Rokeach kind of has that there, but yeah, for sure.
Rashi.
For that.
Yeah.
There's one before that.
One before the Rokeach, so Rashi. Rashi might have said it. Okay, so now what does it mean v'yifsach? What does it mean v'yifsach? So the Machzor Vitri is 11th century, comes from the whole literature of Rashi. He writes that it refers to the eating of the Korban Pesach. So therefore they had the earlier texts of the Haggadah say, don't say that anymore because we're not eating with the Korban Pesach. And so that's one answer. But most of the people do have that version, and also we have that version. So how do we explain this idea of v'yifsach? So okay, what does it mean? The Shibori Aleka writes means to say that it's just a reference to the time of the temple, and so they mention in the Haggadah to remind us of, basically the phrase, we just say what we used to say. So that's the idea. We don't change it. We have 8 answers to this question. The Rokeach writes, oh, is it time to daven? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. We have so many more answers we could give. We're going to give them, God willing, over that. We have still 3 weeks till Pesach. We have plenty of time to get through all the answers. I want to say that after the Mincha